Are you afraid of the dark? It's a genuine question. And in this time of year, when the days are getting darker and darker, and the daylight is getting squeezed as we move toward the winter solstice, maybe you're thinking about the darkness. Culturally, we're taught that darkness is scary. But what does it mean to you? Author and theologian Barbara Brown Taylor says that how we answer that question can kind of be a Rorschach test for what we're afraid of. She has this great book called Learning to Walk in the Dark, and it explores and seeks to reclaim the darkness. Invites us to think about that it's a part of our faith, that if we're going to live whole lives, then we can't neglect the parts of our lives that are lived in darkness. And she invites us to think about the dark side of faith, not just the sunshine and rainbows. It's not depressing, but it's honest about how do we walk on those darker days? How do we adjust our eyes to the darkness? So for these Wednesdays in the season of Advent, I know it's actually today, not yet Advent, but we're leaning and looking ahead toward this Sunday, the first Sunday of Advent. And each Wednesday, I'll invite you, I'll come to you this way on video to join me in a time of worship, to take some moments to just find peace, to sit and relax and reflect, to pray, to listen. Each week, this video will include readings, one from Scripture and one other, some insights from this book, some music to simply listen, and some questions to take away. I commend to you this book, but it's not homework, so all of this is meant simply as a gift. And if you want to share or learn more, you can find some of the texts on the pastor's blog, and I invite you to share this video. Sit down and watch it with someone else, or share it on social media or by email to have a conversation with a friend. This is not another thing to do or another thing to feel guilty about. Receive this time as a gift and carve out some time for yourself to sit in a comfortable chair and relax. Watch this when you're not multitasking. So, I invite you to find that space now and join me and others through the magic of technology and time and space in a time of worship together. Here's a call to worship. During Advent, we are called to settle into the exquisite darkness, to hibernate, rest, restore. This cycle was given to us at the time of creation. We are invited to face the darkness in our own lives and the world around us. The prophets assure us that the darkness will not overcome us. They call us to watch for the light, notice the light, and be warmed by its rays. We are called to wait, to hope, to trust in the promises made. As we make this Advent journey, we claim, we come alive in both the light and the darkness. When you think of light and dark and Scripture, perhaps a few readings come to mind, and perhaps this might be the first one as we page through our Bible. So today I offer you the Scripture reading from Genesis 1. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness God called night. and there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. You know, one thing I noticed in that reading, in hearing it anew today, is that God calls the light good, but God doesn't say anything about the darkness. I invite you to think about that in this reading, as I invite you to listen and hear a kind of introduction to the concepts of this book and learning to walk in the dark, an invitation to consider the darkness from Barbara Brown Taylor. I'm going to share a few paragraphs from the introduction of her book. I invite you just to simply relax and to really take in what she has to offer on these pages. Barbara Brown Taylor writes, "What do I mean by darkness? I guess that depends on what color your monster's eyes are. Most people do not know what they mean by darkness, except that they want to stay out of it. Just say the word and the associations begin to flow. Night, nightmare, ghost, graveyard, cave, bat, vampire, death, devil, evil, criminal, danger, doubt, depression, loss, fear. Fear is the main thing. Almost everyone is afraid of being afraid. Beyond that, no one's list is exactly like anyone else's. It fits the way a shadow fits. If I had my way, I would eliminate everything of darkness, from chronic back pain to the fear of the devil, from my life and the life of those who I love, if I could find just the right nightlight to leave on. At least I think I would. The problem is this: when, despite all my best efforts, the lights have gone off in my life, literally or figuratively, you take your pick, plunging me into a kind of darkness that turns my knees to water, nonetheless, I have not died. The monsters have not dragged me out of bed and taken me back to their lair. The witches have not turned me into a bat. Instead, I have learned things in the dark that I could have never learned in the light. Things that have saved my life over and over again. So that there is really only one logical conclusion. I need darkness as much as I need light. This language of darkness, how we treat it religiously, on the theological level, however, creates all sorts of problems. It divides every day in two, pitting the light part against the dark part. It tucks the sinister stuff into the dark part, identifying with God the sunny parts, and leaving you to deal with the rest on your own time. It implies things about dark-skinned people and sight-impaired people that are not true. Worst of all, it offers people of faith a giant closet in which they can store everything that threatens or frightens them without thinking too much about those things. It rewards them for their unconsciousness, offering spiritual justification for turning away from those things. For after all, it says in the Bible in 1 John, God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. Chief among these problems is the way that Christian teaching thrives on dividing reality into opposing pairs: good, evil, church, world, spirit, flesh, sacred, profane, light, and dark. Even if you're not Christian, it should be easy to tell which pair is higher and which lower. In every case, the language of opposition works by placing half of reality closer to God and the other half further away. This not only simplifies life for people who do not want to spend a lot of time thinking about whether the divisions really hold up, it also offers them a strong sense of purpose by giving them daily battles to engage with. She writes that you don't have to sit down with real, regular people for long to realize what they have known all along, that the days of their lives are not easily divisible into good and evil, spirit and flesh, that some of the best things that have ever happened to them have happened in the darkest places, and some of the worst in well-lit churches, that their bodies have been the source of not only great pain, but also of great pleasure, that they experience the world as a place of wonder as well as brokenness, that they have a hard time warming up to any kind of salvation that divides reality in two and asks them to forsake the bottom half. So that's a bit of a taste and gives you a sense of where we're headed and what Barbara Brown Taylor has to offer here as she invites us to walk with her and consider learning and really remembering, actually, how to walk in the dark. Hold on to these words, and I invite you to reflect these next few moments as we listen to some music from our talented music director, Pat Henry. An excerpt from a poem called Let the Evening Come by Jane Kenyon. She writes, Let the light of late afternoon shine through the chinks in the barn, moving up the bales of hay as the sun comes down. Let the crickets take up chafing as a woman takes up her needles at her yarn. Let evening come. Let it come as it will, and don't be afraid. God does not leave us comfortless, so let evening come. As you consider perhaps what is joyful and light or bleak and hard in your life this week, I invite you to a time of prayer as I share with you this litany, which I think we can hold as a prayer as we hold it up to God. From the rising of the midwinter moon, may darkness and light dance together, O shining God. In this dark season, make us short on grumpy thoughts, long on sharing words of gentleness. Make us short on being rushed, long on attentiveness. Make us short on seeing what's right before us, long on peering into the horizon. Make us short on our out-of-control to-do list, long on savoring kindness. Make us short on overlooking the dark sky, long on gazing at the twinkling stars. Make us short on tradition as a habit, long on re-owning and recreating. Make us short on ignoring the hungry, long on making a delicious meal. Make us short on rushing, long on wondering and pondering. Make us short on walking past those sleeping in the cold, long on sharing blankets and hot tea. Make us short on longing for what's next, and long on savoring the darkness. Amen. A couple questions to take away and with you through your days. What does darkness mean to you? And is darkness ever comforting? Think of real images and experiences. And then I have for you a challenge, an invitation, that the next time you find yourself in the dark, a really dark place, notice it and see how long it takes you before you want to reach to flick on the light or tap on your cell phone. Notice how you feel about the darkness. Receive this benediction blessing for you. May the sun, moon, and stars glow in you like bright fire. May you rest and hibernate in exquisite darkness. May you find new life through God's holy light and holy darkness. Peace be with you in this Advent season. Join me again next Wednesday for the next installment of this e-worship experience. Share it with a friend. I want to say thank you to Pat Henry for providing music, and also to my dear friend, Pastor CJ Valenti, who hatched the idea of using this book and this concept and shared with me the outline for worship for this season. Thanks be to God for you for tuning in, and you are always welcome to join us here at Georgetown Lutheran on a Sunday morning, 8:30 spoken worship, bright and early, and then 10 o'clock our full liturgy with music. May God bless you on the journey.